Good morning and welcome to Sew Knit Create and Repeat episode 9. Hi, my name is Carla and I'm coming to you from the east coast of the North Island of New Zealand, or Aotearoa as we like to call it. Welcome back to anyone who has been following for a little while, and also welcome to all the wonderful new followers I've just recently got, subscribers I should say. Thanks to the lovely Kelly Menzies. I was a Saturday night and I had taken my phone to bed because I saw there was a new episode of that Roro and Kate's podcast. My partner was out hunting and I thought, just take this to bed, watch Kelly, and then I'll go to sleep. So you can imagine my shock horror when we're close to the end of the podcast and my name is plastered across the screen. When I say shock horror, it wasn't that bad, but I was slightly mortal. I was like, I could feel the blood just go whoosh up my face. She was so kind. She said such lovely things about me. So yeah, thank you, Kelly, and thank you to everyone who has subscribed since then, and yeah, and some of the lovely comments that I've got. It's really, really nice. So I've gone from having 23 subscribers to 43 subscribers. So there's a change of scenery today. Just the winter light is just, it's too dim inside my house and I don't have a ring light or anything. I've recorded a full podcast episode on Wednesday or Thursday, I think. Today's Sunday, and I don't know, I should have tested it, checked it first, and it was like I was recording from a cave. You could hardly see anything. So today's Sunday. I've done some of my homework. I've already tried to attempt to start recording this, and then a vehicle pulled up the driveway and it was my partner and his friend. His friend builds what they call archgolas. They're a type of roof structure over decks, and they've come to have a look at the deck, but I didn't get a warning. Just as I thought, maybe I should just be brave and continue to record, and then when I realised that Sam was with them, I was like, better hide my camera. This has gone cold now. I won't talk about it, it's just a herbal tea. So I've got a few things to talk to you about today, but not too much. But the first thing I'll talk about is what I'm wearing, and that's my first finished project. Also, side note, there's a busy main road that runs past. We live rurally, but I've got two neighbours. Our houses were old powerboard houses, so there's a substation behind us, and they were all built around 1920. 1930, sorry. So there's like 4 houses in a row and then just farmland everywhere, so we're kind of like suburbia in the middle of nowhere. And both my neighbours have dogs, so they might bark occasionally. So we've also got that main road. Well, it's not a main road, but it is a busy road. That's another route south. We get a few trucks through there and just, yeah, general farm vehicles. So I'm outside because the light was shit, to be honest. And yeah, so this is my ranunculus. So I was halfway through this. I've modified my ranunculus. I love it. I've modified the sleeves. So I've got these nice fluty sleeves. So if I stand, hopefully you can see that. It's got a nice bit of width, and it's knit up in a fingering weight merino. I purchased from Trade Me, which is an online marketplace, a New Zealand online marketplace, and there was just a lady on there who had done her own hand dyeing. as far as the yarn goes, it says it's merino. I do wonder whether it is superwash. It wasn't labelled or advertised as superwash, but it's just got that kind of feeling to it. But that's fine. Yes, so I thought I'd never make a ranunculus, but I've made a ranunculus. Yeah, the only gutting thing about it possibly being superwash is I found it very hard to try and splice it, which, you know, when you're joining in different colours, because this is 3 shades that I've tried to do a fade, it is really hard to get them to join. And so then you're having to weave in ends, and when it's a big open gauge it's quite hard to disguise them. But anyway, that's that. If you want to see the sleeve modification, I got off a lady called Roko on Ranunculus from Revelry. So what she did was she said she knitted the shorter version of the sleeve and then bound off and then picked up 2 stitches per bound off stitch. I did that initially and it looked too sort of flouncy, so I wanted more of a gentle flounce. So I went back, did a rib and then bound off with the loose flap bind off and did it again, and I found that was more gradual increase. Some of the techniques, so this has got a just bear with me while I find it. It's the cast on was a double twist loop cast on method, which I've never done before. It was a bit fiddly, but it worked out really good because I wanted the wider neckline. And of course all the beautiful stitches. I think I'll make another one. I'm wondering whether the black yarn that had the metallic thread through it that I bought, the really old stuff that I bought from the second-hand shop from the Salvation Army, I'm wondering whether I might be able to make even just a little short sleeve version or something. I'll be able to tell, I'll do the body and I'll be able to see how much wool I've got left when I go to do the sleeves, so I might do that. Yeah, so that is the ranunculus. So my second finished object or objects is, I'm just going to poke these in here so I don't lose them, is the Stormseeker socks by Kelly Menzies. This is my first pair of socks I've ever knit. I thought it would take me all year because the needles were so small. I started these during school holidays, which was about 5-6 weeks ago, and I think I talked about it in my last podcast, and I'd sort of done maybe about that much from the, so it's a top down sock, so I've probably done about that much, and then I just put them down and I finished off this. But in saying that, then I sort of kept thinking, no, you just got to keep pushing on with this. So I picked it up again, and then once I got to the heel flap, it just flew. It was like really interesting, and I'd got used to the small needles, and I actually found it quite addictive. So once I had done the first sock, I cast on the second sock, and it took me 3 days to finish the second sock. So it's got a beautiful pattern that just runs down. I don't have a sock blocker, so these were just washed and laid flat. I haven't worn them yet because I wanted to video first. The only mistake I think I made was, and I don't know what the mistake was, is that when I came to the second sock and I was ready to join back in the round after doing the heel flap and gusset or whatever you call it. And what she gets you to do is, because you're only patterning on the top side of the foot, you do 3 stitches and then your pattern repeats and then 3 stitches, but I needed to actually, for it to match up with the existing pattern, I actually needed to do 6 stitches. So I ummed and ahed about what to do. I don't know how it happened. I had an even number of stitches on my little needles, so I used these little Addy Crazy Trio needles. So I had always had half on each side. So I don't know what I did. So in the end I thought 3 stitches is really not going to break the bank. So I just did 6 stitches, pattern repeat, and then back into normal, and didn't do anything. So it just means there's a slightly wider strip across here. So yes, now Kelly gets you to do a stretchy cast on, and it's a German twisted cast on. It's really easy if you know how to do a long tail cast on. It's very similar to that, and I found it quite easy to pick up on. I really recommend this pattern. This is my first time knitting socks, and I don't think that you should just do a vanilla pair of socks if you want to learn it. To me, if I was just knitting plain, unless I had a really cool yarn that was self-striping or doing something really interesting, I think all the concepts are the same, just a little bit of pattern thrown in it, and if you've already been knitting, patterning's not going to hurt you. So yes, I made my first pair of socks. I don't have a table, so everything's just on the floor of the deck. So I'm just going to talk about my active whips. I have got the lane hat on the needles, which I showed last time, and there's not really been much progress made on that. I've realised that I have a very, very small head, and the pattern is has been designed with a woman's medium head size, and my head is 2 centimetres below average apparently. And it'll all become clear how we discovered this very shortly. So all I've done with that, I've done maybe another row, and I've just dropped like, I think it's like 5mm needles. I could be wrong. So if it was, I've gone down to 4. Yeah, try and see if that makes a difference. I looked at it and I thought it looks quite big, and yeah, and then when this other thing happened, I realised there's probably a reason why it looks quite big. So my partner's been wanting me to knit him a jersey, and I've got lots of jersey projects or sweater projects for myself that I would like to get through before I start knitting for other people. And also because he's hard wearing on his clothes, the trust is not there yet. It's just not there yet. He may put holes in them. So I thought I'd try him out with a hat. So I took a whole lot of screenshots of some hat patterns, some interesting hat patterns on Ravelry, and I sent them to him when he was out one day, and I asked him to choose one. So he has chosen a hat called Woven by Amy Miller, and hopefully you can see that. If that doesn't show up, I'll put an insert on the screen. But it's just kind of like a gingham looking pattern, and I'm using leftover wool. Well, I've got a couple of combs. So I've got this brown, which I used in my my Ilha sweater, which I've shown before. It was my first ever sweater I ever knitted. I am thinking about doing a little video of some of my past knits, so I might do that soon. So I knitted in that, and this is just what I used to knit my tea sweater pullover by Locatelli. I knit that holding 2 together, this is just a single strand. And this is how far I've got. So I've just done the ribbing, and I've done maybe 3 rows of the patterning. And I don't think you're really going to see much there, but yeah. So this is where we get to the small head conversation. We had to measure Evan's head to see what size his hat would be, and we were already kind of laughing because he always says he has a big head. I don't think his head looks that big, but he reckons when he first joined the fire service, because he's a volunteer fireman, rural fire, he took the largest size helmet and the smallest size gloves. So he looks like a T-Rex. So we measured his head, and he was 61 centimetres in circumference. And then I measured my head, and I was 53 centimetres. My daughter was laughing her head off like crazy, and so we measured her head, and she was 58 centimetres. So then later on, we usually go to a potluck dinner on a Sunday night, but I'd had a crook tummy all day, so I sent them off. I said, oh, you two go out for tea, I'll stay home. And they ended up talking about it at dinner, and everyone around their dinner table were measuring their heads, having a laugh about who's the big head. And Jess sends me this graph that she'd found on the internet. She did a screenshot, and she says, I'm a pinhead apparently, because the average woman's head is 55 centimetres. So, yeah, that's why Kelly's hat is too big for my head. So yes, so that's one active whip. Just going to tidy this up. So my next active whip, which is just about finished, just about ready to bind off the first sleeve. And this is the Wishes cardigan by Locatelli. It's my first sleeve, so then I'll do my second sleeve and I'll be finished. Now this has made me wonder whether I have whether I'm slightly longer in the torso than average, because I've noticed that every jumper I've knit has always ended up shorter than it should, and most times I've actually knitted a little bit longer than what they've said. And so they'll, like if it's top down, and they'll say knit X amount of centimetres from where you join, where you split for your arms down, and then hem. And I guess part of it is me being impatient, because by the time I've got to that point, all I can think of is I really want to finish this, and so it gets to that level and I think, oh, I'll just bind off. And a couple of times I've thought, no, I need a little bit more length, and I've done a few more centimetres, and it still looks more cropped than it does on the designer's sample. So I do wonder whether I am slightly low. Maybe I've got short legs, long body. Yeah, so that's just my thoughts on that. I'm just going to have to be a bit more careful, I think, because it should be quite a long cardigan, and it doesn't look that long, but maybe when I block it out it might lengthen. I've done it all centimetres, so everything is measured. It's no, you don't have to worry about your row gauge, and it's still quite yeah, we'll see. But it's fine, because I don't mind cropped things either, but yeah. It's taken a long time to knit that. It's small needle, small yarn, and quite wide, because, you know, it's quite flared. But you'll see it. When I wear it, you'll be able to see it. And then, of course, there's only one other whip happening. And you guys have seen this before. No, it shouldn't be halfway through a row. No, it's not, because I'm a good girl. That's my Ponderosa pullover. I've probably done maybe that much since the last time I recorded. This is another one that I have to knit on during the day because I just can't see at night and I don't have a lamp. So I might have to sort something out. I might need to get a ring light or something even for the camera, because in the winter it's not always going to be like this where I can come outside to get good light. I started this podcast in September, which is spring, so there was a little bit more natural light in the house, and now, well, we're 2 days away from winter here, so yeah, the light has definitely dropped. So that is really all I've got to report on. I do have a couple of acquisitions. So I did an order from Woolly Knit, and my main reason was because I keep seeing people podcasting and showing this, just this particular colour. This is the British wools, light fingering comb, but this colour Harvest Yellow, I just, every time I see it, I just think, oh my god, I want that. So I got this. I have done a little tiny swatch. I did a half row. So instead of doing the full amount of rows, I just half the rows. It usually gives me a good indication. Because I want to knit Isabel Kramer's Reagan cardigan. So I've actually got gauge, although I suspect, so it says on Ravelry that this takes a light fingering, so 3-ply light fingering. This is classed as light fingering 3-ply. So, but it does look like it's a slightly more open gauge. But I think it'll be fine because this will be quite a good kind of transitional season cardigan, or you just layer it up as long as I make the sleeves wide enough. It should be fine. So that's that. And the other thing I bought from Woolly Knit is this linen cotton blended comb, because I figured if I was going to be shipping something internationally, I might as well make it worth it. This is Kerry Green. Now I will admit it does not look like that on the monitor. I know that there's differences, but this is very dark compared to what I saw on the monitor. But anyway, it doesn't matter, I'll still use it. So I'm on the hunt for some summer tops that I can use this for, because I'd like to start, towards the end of winter, I'd like to start knitting some summer wear. Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, so that is pretty much, I'll just drink my cold tea. That's pretty much everything to report knitting wise. I have got some sewing plans coming up, but I might do a couple of short videos. I want to kind of show people how I lay out and cut out my patterns. I don't have a cutting table, and I don't use weights, and I don't use a rotary cutter. I use pins, I use the carpet and scissors. So yeah, so I've got a few plans for that. Yesterday I spent the day out in the garden. It killed me. It's really frustrating when you've been a person who's always been go, 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 go. Tackle anything, do whatever, just go, to not even being able to do a 3 metre by 50 centimetre garden bed without feeling like you have to stop 4 times to rest because you feel like you've just run a marathon. So yeah, there's that. What's the other thing? I'm very aware that my camera will stop recording shortly. My partner starts his new business as of now. His last day at his job was Friday, so I've got a little bit of learning to do there. I am going to be helping him just with the invoicing and statements and things like that, just to take some of the load off. It's not something I haven't done before. A couple of my jobs I've done accounts and things, but I've never used the system that we're going with. So that will be this afternoon. I'll be having to practice with that because he's already started doing a few jobs during evenings. So there's a few invoices to load. What else? I don't know if there's anything else. I've found a new podcast that I've enjoying watching. Her name is Celia, and she is the Hanging On by a Thread podcast, and I've been binge watching her. She is really, really funny. She's a Norwegian lady, and I just suspect that if she actually let her guard down and just really said what she wanted to say, it would be really funny. I can see that she's obviously said stuff and then just edited them out, but yeah, I guess we don't want to turn people off our podcast by being too honest. But anyway, I think the camera's probably going to say goodbye soon, so without further ado, I'm going to say goodbye. I hope you've all been well. Yeah, take care and enjoy the rest of your week.